Hey guys, welcome to Construction Lab Safety Part 2. So the purpose of this presentation is intended to emphasize the importance of safety in the construction lab, focusing on first aid, fire safety, tool safety, hazardous material safety, and eye protection procedures. This lesson will also show eye injuries sustained by not using appropriate eye protection. Warning, some slides are very graphic. So the first thing I want you to do is remember all 20 of our safety rules that we have gone over in our previous lesson. The reason for those safety rules is to prevent injuries. So one of our safety rules was to make sure that if you have long hair, that you put it into a ponytail or a bun and that you tuck it in. Otherwise, accidents can happen. In this example, this student had her hair caught in one of the machines. By the time that the teacher was able to turn the machine off, it had already ripped out part of her hair and damaged part of her scalp. Kayla admits that she should have had her hair tied back. So remember, there's no horseplay in the construction lab. If you are caught horseplaying, running, throwing things, you will be removed. Also, make sure you're paying attention and keep your mind on the task, right? Because we don't want you running into other students or causing accidents because you're not paying attention. So remember, our clothing is very important, okay? We need to make sure that we're wearing those long pants and those long sleeves. But if you're wearing long sleeve shirts, you need to roll up the sleeves, tie back your long hair, tuck in loose clothing, and remove jewelry, right? So that way it does not get caught in the machine. Remember, most of these machines are going at repetitions of 2000s RPM or higher, meaning that if your hand, clothing, jewelry, or hair gets caught in that machine, there's nothing that you can do to pull it back. It's going to be too strong. It's going to pull you into that machine and it's going to hurt you. Also remember, do not distract people using any tools. They are sharp and the user needs to focus. You know, the number one safety rule is safety glasses must be worn at all times. All injuries, no matter how small, must be reported. And if you're unsure of how to use a tool, find help. Even if you've had the class, even if you've passed the safety exam, if you are still not sure how to use that tool, do not use it and ask for help. So when you turn off a machine, stay with it until it is completely stopped. Never distract anyone operating equipment, and using tools requires your complete attention at all times. Do not get sidetracked with what other people are doing or what your friends are doing across the table. So safety responsibility depends on everyone. So everybody in that construction lab needs to be paying attention, because if one of you is not, then accidents can happen. Also remember that if you are trying to lift heavy objects, either ask for help, or if it is a heavy object such as lumber or materials, make sure you bend with your knees and lift with your knees, not your back, as you can see in this demonstration. So first aid, okay, so know where the location is. It's going to be in the back corner of the construction lab, and also know what we can help with inside that first aid kit. So inside that first aid kit, we have cleansing wipes, we have alcohol wipes, and we have Band-Aids. We also have some small gauze patches, but anything that's larger than a small cut would definitely need to get help from the nurse. Common injuries. So you can see in this example, and this is accident locations and frequencies, the arms and the hands are the number one areas of injury inside of a construction lab. So you need to pay attention to hand placement to prevent injuries. Use all recommended guards and other safety devices when you operate power equipment. So placement of hands when you're nailing, placement of hands when you're cutting is going to be key to your safety. Make sure that you understand how the devices that you're using work. Make sure that you understand how the guards work, right? The guards are the pieces of the machine that are protecting you while the blade is moving. So we need to make sure that we're using all the guards on the machines and we're not removing them. General electrical tool safety. Make sure that when you're using electrical tools that you're taking care of yourself, right? Remember, electricity kills and has the power to kill. So do not pull on the power cord to disconnect a tool. Make sure you pull on the plug. Always disconnect your power equipment before you make adjustments, okay? So that means you need to unplug that equipment, not just turn it off, before you make adjustments on that equipment. Never handle electrical equipment if your hands are wet or if you're standing on a wet floor. This seems like common sense, but it's easier than you think to do. So after you wash your hands, you're working and you want to go use that power drill, you want to go use that miter saw, make sure that your hands are dry before you start using that equipment. So fire safety. There's 4 classes of fire. Class A is your ordinary combustibles like wood, paper, or trash. Your Class B is your flammable liquids, including fuels, greases, and paints. And your Class C is your electrical equipment. So those are the 3 classes that we will be dealing with in the construction lab. Your Class D are combustible metals, and we do not use combustible metals inside that construction lab. So know the locations of your fire extinguisher and your pull alarm. So the fire extinguisher that we have inside the construction lab is a dry chemical, Class A, B, and C. So that means it can put out wood, it can put out the paints, and it can put out those other types of fires, okay? Now also make sure you know where that pull alarm is in case the teacher tells you to pull the alarm. Understand how to use a fire extinguisher. So when you're using a fire extinguisher, if you've never used one before, you're going to remember the acronym PASS. So pull the safety. There's a little safety knob on the fire extinguisher. You'll be able to see it when you pick it up. You're going to aim at the fire. You're going to squeeze the handle, and then you're going to sweep. You're going to sweep from left to right, trying to put out that fire. Now remember, the only time that you will be doing this is if the instructor asks for your help. So in case of a fire, move out, right? So if you're not directly involved in fighting the fire, the teacher will designate a student to be in charge, and that student will evacuate the back of the construction lab, right, with the other students, making sure that everybody stays together in a single file line, moving to the evacuation location. Now, if we do have a fire or a power tool accident, I want to make sure that you understand there is an emergency shutoff switch within the construction lab. It is the one that's on the right-hand side with the red handle. Right now you can see it's in the up position. If anything ever happens, an accident, no matter how small, or if there's a fire, no matter how small, the student closest to this emergency shutoff, I want you to hit the off switch. So you just take that red handle and pull it down. Cleaning expectations, right? We need to make sure that our construction lab is clean to prevent accidents. So at the end of the class period, when asked to clean up, you need to put away what you're working on and start cleaning up immediately. You will be given 5-minute warnings prior to this, so that way you can start finishing up whatever little pieces you're working on. But when the teacher tells you it's time to start cleaning up, you need to immediately start doing so. Put away your project and pick up a broom or a hand brush and start cleaning the construction lab. Also remember, use only a brush. You can see that in the picture in the upper right-hand corner, not your hands, to clear away wood chips or sawdust from any machine or workbench. Again, use only a brush that is pictured in the upper right-hand corner to clear away wood chips or sawdust from any machine or workbench, and that is to prevent splinters or other cuts happening to your hands. So keep tools and wood from hanging off the edge of the workbench. This is to prevent the tools from, 1, running into students, and 2, from falling on the floor and getting damaged. Also, keep the the floor clear of scraps of wood. So when you're done with cutting a piece of wood, make sure you pick that wood up and either put it back in the scrap wood pile, or if it's small enough, you're going to throw it away into the trash can. Also, make sure if you spill something, you wipe up immediately any liquid spilled on the floor with a rag or paper towel. Now, if it's paint or if it's a solvent, then you're going to be using a rag. If it's water, then you use paper towels. So use the right size and type of tool for the job. Okay, so each tool does its job perfectly when used correctly. So you can't use a hammer to tap in screws. I don't want you using wrenches or screwdrivers to tap in nails, right? And then you can see that contraption on the right-hand side where somebody taped a razor blade to a wrench. That is a recipe for disaster. Also remember, forcing things will break tools, your work, and worst of all, you, right? So if you're trying to force something and it's not going in or out easy, more than likely you will end up hurting yourself. Ask for help from the teacher. So have respect for tools and equipment. So never use any tool or machine until the teacher has shown you how to use it and has checked the setup. Before you use any tool or machine, make sure you know the safety rules and make sure you get your teacher's permission, right? You need to ask your teacher's permission before you use any tool in the construction lab. Use equipment only when the teacher is in the lab. Do not let others distract you while you use a machine. Do not use electrical tools or equipment if the cord or plug is damaged. Always use the right equipment for the job. The wrong tool could injure you or damage the part you're working on. To avoid injuries, use the right machine guard for the job, right? We talked about machine guards before. Those are the parts of the machine that protect you from the blade. Check with your teacher for the appropriate guard. Keep hands and fingers away from all moving parts. Before you leave a machine, turn it off and wait till it stops. If you are finished, clean the machine and area around it. When you have finished working, return all tools and unused supplies to their proper places. So here's some construction lab terms. We're going to use the term blood bubble. That's the dangerous area around the tool. So think of a 3-foot circle around you. You want to keep people out of that area. That's the area where people can get hurt while you're using a tool. And that's no matter if it's power tools or hand tools. Also, the other term is the tool room. So this is where the tools are stored. Always return the tools back to its assigned storage area. So when I tell you to bring the tools back to the tool room, make sure you just don't put them on the little benches there. Make sure you hang them back up where they're supposed to go. So here's a quick video on hazardous materials and waste.
Many of the chemicals we use in the lab are potentially dangerous, especially under high heat, pressure, or when they're mixed with other chemicals. There are two main tools that we use to identify chemical hazards: safety data sheets and chemical labels. Every chemical in the lab is required to have a technical document called a safety data sheet, or SDS, usually provided by the manufacturer. These were formerly known as material safety data sheets, or MSDS. The safety data sheet is a one-stop shop to find out about a chemical's properties, hazards, and safety precautions. Know the location of the safety data sheets in your lab and review them before working with a chemical for the first time. GHS is an acronym for the Globally Harmonized System of Classification and Labeling of Chemicals. This new system provides an international standard format for safety data sheets. All SDS must now be organized into 16 sections. Section 1, Identification. Here you'll find the chemical's name, description, and the manufacturer's contact information. 2, Hazard Identification. This section lists signal words, warnings, and safety symbols. 3, Composition. A list of ingredients. 4, First aid measures. What's the required treatment for a person who's been exposed? 5, Firefighting measures. 6.
So number 4 and number 5, the first aid and the firefighting measures, are the most important parts of those material safety data sheets. And those material safety data sheets are located in the paint room where all of our hazardous materials are stored. So have respect for hazardous materials and waste. Products with major health risks should have a material safety data sheet attached to them, right? Wear appropriate personal protective equipment when working with hazardous materials. So we will be wearing masks and we will be wearing gloves if we are doing painting or staining. Work in well-ventilated areas and then follow your teacher's instructions for disposal of hazardous materials and waste. So safe use of chemicals. Read and follow all label precautions. Always wear protective clothing and eye protection. Use appropriate gloves and tongs when needed. Many chemicals produce harmful fumes. Work only in well-ventilated areas. Remember, that was one of our safety rules, that we're going to be working in well-ventilated areas when we're painting or staining. Know where the eye wash station is and how to use it. So that will be gone over in a future part of this lesson. Know where the material safety data sheets are located. Like I said, they're located in our painting room. And know where our poison control number is located. That is also located in the paint room. So everyone must wear safety glasses at all times in the shop. That's our number one rule. Our safety glasses are located in our sanitizing cabinet, and you can see a picture on the left-hand side what it looks like when it's closed and when it's open. So the glasses that are red and blue are for people who don't wear glasses. If you wear glasses, then you're going to be using the ones on the bottom. They're clear and they go over your glasses. Now, at the end of the class period, when I tell you it's time to clean up, or when your teacher tells you it's time to clean up, then you need to put it back just how it looks in this picture right here. Nice and neat and orderly. So a little close-up view. So the ones on the right, again, are for those that do not wear glasses. For those students that do wear glasses, you'll be using the ones on the left. So our basic eye wash stations, you have one on the left-hand side, which is for if you have something in your eyes, and then if that is not operational, you'll be using the sink. So the sink is located on the back side of the lab. You will be putting your head down towards the sink, and you will either be putting water in your eye or the instructor will be putting water in your eye to help rinse it out. So wearing safety glasses to prevent eye injuries and the normal eye-related structures. So warning, these are the graphic slides. Okay, so this is your normal eye, how it looks. See it has 4 parts. So this is chematosis resulting from a chemical cleaner in the eye. So first aid for this would be to irrigate with clean water. You can see it doesn't look too bad, but you can see that the eye is definitely irritated. This is an eye injured when hit with a wooden board. So this is why we need to make sure that we're paying attention to where we're walking, because if somebody runs into you carrying a piece of lumber, this is what can happen. The first aid is a medical doctor is required, and we will have to call 911. So here's an injury by a metal chip. You can see that small blip on the right-hand side of the iris. This was grinding without safety goggles. The first aid is removing of metal by a medical doctor, so your parent will be contacted and they will have to take you to the emergency room. So eye laceration from a wood splinter. It looks really bad. Again, your parent will have to be contacted. School nurse will have to be contacted. This is not 911 appropriate. However, the first aid would be antibiotic ointment treatment. And so here's a wood foreign body penetrated the eye, small iris prolapse. So the pupil is not round. It pushed the pupil. You can see that it made it bigger. The medical treatment is transport to the emergency room immediately. And so this is why we need to wear our safety glasses at all times. So this is general safety, construction lab safety, part 2. Remember, our motto is think safety first. Everything that you do in the construction lab has to be safety oriented. If you think that you could hurt yourself or others, then you're probably doing something wrong. That's all I have for today. Make sure that you pay attention. If you need to rewatch this video before you take your safety exams, make sure you do so, and have a great day.